I've now been a part of Veve since April of 2021, and throughout that time there's been many different cycles that have been going on. Some have been massive upswings, others have been massive downtrends. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about these cycles, how this is going to impact the future of Veve as a whole, where it's currently sitting, and what I think you should maybe be doing to look for successful outcomes over the long run. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Welcome in everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get started, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit a subscribe button, and if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. Of course, there's a lot of cycles that are going to happen in any market. It really is determined by so many different factors that it's quite hard to actually pinpoint exactly why things happen, exactly why something goes one way, because there are often 5, 10, 20 reasons that these all accumulate into what actually happens. Something that I talked about with Joe from Superstar Money was the sentiment of people who have been in Veve since 2021, early 2021, how people who are coming in at the end of 2022, because there's obviously a big difference in what's happening, what's been going on, and that can maybe lead some people to have certain biases in certain formats and think in certain ways. So if you're watching some YouTubers or if you're listening to people on social media, different people have different sentiments to how the company is actually going, and therefore it's probably quite hard to grasp exactly where you stand and exactly how to think. This is not by all means me telling you how to think, but what I'm trying to do here is try to give you a better understanding of what it was like to be in Veve in those times, and then where I sort of see this company moving in the next few years, and how this sort of gain of user base or gain of gamification is going to actually play out. If we look back to April of 2021 when I had first joined, there was hardly any drops. You were really lucky to get maybe a drop a week. That was something that was kind of, you know, the excitement, the buzz of the whole week. You were waiting the whole week to get that Veve drop, and sometimes it was every 2 weeks, one drop every 2 weeks. And at this point as well, there had been maybe 1 or 2 seasons of the Batman Black and White out. I'd actually came in with the Ultraman 2D posters. That was my first drop that I went for, and then it started to become like the Mermicornos and all that sort of stuff. But even with those, there was still an amazing opportunity to profit with these, even back in those days. So at this time, you really did go for everything you possibly could, and if you were able to get just something from the drop, you were most likely going to profit from it. Of course, the app was extremely buggy back then, so the likelihood of you getting these drops and knowing the tricks and all that sort of stuff, it was a lot different because there just wasn't as many creators actually creating content for it. Because there were fewer users, if you knew the tricks in order to get these blind boxes, you were most likely guaranteed to get them. And for a certain period of time, I actually don't think I missed a drop a couple of months when I was actually going for them. Now granted, I had only stuck £300 into the app, and that was all I'd put in until maybe Disney Golden Moments, and probably after that actually too. But it's something that I couldn't go for every single drop every single time, but when I did, I was often able to get the ultra rare, because remember, blind boxes weren't a thing back then. You had to pick and choose what you were actually going for. So you had to pick the ultra rare and go for that, or you could go for the common and you could go off of it and try and go for the common after you get the ultra rare and all that sort of stuff. So it was a sort of different sentiment back then. There were fewer users. A lot of people profited from basically every drop that they were doing if they knew what they were doing. If you were able to learn the tricks, you were able to profit. And at this point, if they are still in here, they will probably be up massively, even though there's been an incredible downtrend on basically everything since maybe January or February. After that, it started to decrease. What I talked about with Joe was that these people, if they are still here, understand the longevity of what they're aiming for with this, where Veve is a business that is going to take years and years to actually become the phenomenon that they see it becoming. This is the place that I sort of sit at. I am not here for just a quick turnaround. I'm not someone who's here who believes that in 1 year everything will be different and everything will change. I knew this was going to be a long play. I've always said minimum 5 to 7 years in this, and more so, I know a lot of people target Omi in that section of the making the money part, whereas the collectibles are more for the fun and enjoyment and the gamification that we hopefully see in the future. But it is still an interesting precedent that you see a lot of these people who have been in here for so long still holding their collectibles, still actually active on social media, and actually probably more active than ever before, even from that get-go. When we move on to sort of the August to November time of 2021, this was when we saw quite a jump in user base. This is when we saw more YouTubers coming onto the space. This was the announcements of Marvel and Disney during this window anyway, and this is when they were announced. The Golden Moments, Marvel Spider-Man, the first ever appearance of that. It was an insane time, because during this, we actually saw extremely low prices for some of the most notable characters in the world. You looked back and you were here for Marvel's first announcement, the Marvel's comics being released, and the Disney Golden Moments. You know that Spider-Man basically sat at retail. The common Spider-Man sat at retail for quite a while. I believe the secret there, if I'm not mistaken, sat at about 1 to 2k for a certain period of time before it actually rocketed up. And then if we look at even the Marvel's Comic 1, one of the most expensive comic books in the world, Marvel's first ever comic, sold under retail for the common. I think I managed to get 7 on drop day when I was actually purchasing them, and sold some for maybe 8, 9 gems when they were actually at that price. Now at the all-time highs, I don't even know what we saw. Was it 300, 400 we saw for our Marvel's Comic 1? People were treating these like they were absolutely nothing. This is because we didn't know and fully understand the true basis of what these comics meant. And the same as the Fantastic Four one, that sold for literally nothing in the beginning because people were not actually seeing the value of what these could hold. And again, if we look at the Disney Golden Moments, although there was a massive increase in user bases and the amount of people who were talking about Veve during that time, the Disney Golden Moments were really, really cheap back in the day. Now, I think a few of them have actually went close to what they were at from the beginning now because we've had such a long time when it's been a downtrend, but the likes of Homer and Bart were sitting around 50 gems before the partner statue actually came out. Homer and Bart was a really, really, really low price. Same as things like Wally and the pizza truck, they all sat extremely low, and I was able to get some things on really good deals back in the day just for the Golden Moments because I saw how significant they were going to be. What I'm going to say for these people in that time is that they probably underestimated the true potential of what Veve could be at that point, because when they were buying, they weren't really making that much of a profit on it. The app was still extremely laggy. There were some problems with the Homer and Bart drop that people got raging about because they couldn't get onto the app, and I totally understood that because it was upsetting too. These people, if they stuck around until what we're going to speak about next, they would have realized the potential that Veve can have during a bull market with a ton of stuff going their way and a lot of new users coming onto the platform, as well as people who are using nefarious ways of actually getting more money through the app because there was money to be made through that. This is when we go to January. It was the biggest rise up in prices for these collectibles that anyone has ever saw. Everyone was tweeting about their portfolio. Everyone was buzzing about all the drops that we're getting. It was extremely challenging to get the drops because bots were probably running quite rampant during that time, and people were making money on every single drop. It didn't matter what it was, didn't matter what IP it was, money was to be made. If you were able to get the drop, if you were able to pick it up, you were going to make money. It didn't matter what you were getting, it didn't matter what you were choosing. And this is probably where we saw the most increase in user base. I would probably say even more so than Disney Golden Moments because there was so much money to be made. And especially since there's a lot of people in here who are solely out there for the money, which there's nothing wrong with, that would have actually enticed them to get in, give it a go and try it. If these people did and were successful with it, then they were probably able to make a fair whack of money all before we actually had the ability to cash out. I know for me, this was probably the second time that the channel itself blew up as much as it did. The other time was Disney Golden Moments, and it probably blew up more during that time, which was actually quite surprising considering how much of an increase in revenue could be made in January. And I thought maybe the sentiment was more towards that, but January was still an amazing time for the channel. There were a lot more eyes on Veve at that point. There were a lot more people talking about it on social media. There was a consistently big push for releasing multiple drops, for getting more people involved, for content creators to advertise the company more. You know, there was a massive push in January, and I'm guessing that's where a lot of people got in and decided to actually put some money into it. And this is what leads us to kind of where we're at now. From about January or February onwards to now, we've mostly had a downtrend for the whole of the Veve market. This is because euphoria can't last forever. We went into a bear market. America's in a recession right now. There's so many reasons, like I talked about before, that this has actually been the case. Now that Veve took so long to get the cash out available, there are probably quite a lot of people who just gave up on Veve. And that means now that KYC is involved, you can actually access anything without doing KYC. Your aim here is about retaining old users and also gaining new users. Now, KYC does create a blockade for new users coming in, as it can create this sentiment of, oh, if I need to KYC as soon as I get into this app, I can't even be bothered doing that. I don't even know what that app is. I don't even know if I want to invest in it yet. Can be quite a barrier for someone at their first opportunity of investing in something like this. If they're coming solely for the collectibles, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the problem right now is the majority of people are in this for the money. And again, I've said there's nothing wrong with that at all, the way that the user base is at the moment. There certainly are investors who have become part collectors, and that's something I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on. But this is the case. Most people are in it for money. So if they have to KYC as soon as they get in, that instantly creates quite a massive barrier for themselves to actually move forward with. One of the main things that needs to be done in the future for Veve in order to grow their user base is to start adding more value to their customers. So we've obviously saw the things like AMC theaters, the special airdrops for Jurassic Park, and all that sort of stuff. These are really, really good ways of adding value to customers who are there. But we've now got to think about retaining those customers as well as bringing in more authority to those out with in the other NFT premium digital collectible space. How do we actually bring them in and make them want to KYC? How do we make it easy for new users to know that this is actually about protection of you and the things you're purchasing rather than just trying to steal your data and take all your data away? There has to be ways in order for us to actually do that. There are plenty of ways this is the case. This can be about tweeting about it. This can be having content creators help you out. This can be consistent updates for themselves. This can be news articles. This can be Medium articles written. There's so many things that can be done in order to boost a little bit of just presence and security about what KYC is, the reasons behind it, how this is going to help the company, how this is going to help you as a customer, how this is going to help you over the long run more than actually hinder you with what you're doing. Because KYC can be a little bit of a pain. I know my dad got denied the first time. We done the exact same thing the second time. We just took a different angle of the picture and it literally worked. So again, these things can frustrate people even further. My dad would have probably not done it if I wasn't there to help him. So there are quite a few barriers when it comes to this. There's quite a few barriers when it comes to actually sticking with the app and even getting on the app originally, purely because KYC has been introduced. That authority being built and understanding to customers about the value that this is going to provide them over the long run will be very, very important. Because if we're looking at the things like MetaMask or IMX and all that sort of stuff right now, you still don't need to KYC. Doubting you'll ever really need to KYC for that sort of stuff. You're meant to have the ability to remain anonymous. Now, it's not to say that that's actually the case, as most of these things are centralized and most of these things do actually collect some data and actually lead back to you, but it's still important to understand maybe the sentiment that other people in the NFT space are going to hold to Veve and new people actually coming into this. I went on quite a run of all the different periods of time and what's been happening with Veve right now and how maybe people are thinking towards the market and the app and all that sort of stuff. Because if you're starting in April, if you even started back in 2020 when the app first released, you're going to have a different thought process to someone who came in during Disney Golden Moments. You're going to have someone with a different thought process who came in January. You're going to have a different thought process as someone who came at Comic-Con San Diego last month. There's going to be different ways of thinking and different ways of actually doing stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you what I'm focusing on right now, how I'm playing my cards, and then hopefully just allowing you to think maybe in a bit of a different manner and also compare and contrast the way that you're thinking to see if we can come to solid middle ground, that bridge that can help us move forward together. So the first one is investing in what I believe in for the long run rather than short term. Yes, short term can sometimes be important, especially if you're looking for like quick profit over and over and over again. But for me right now, I was able to do that in the early stages of Veve where I was trading constantly. I think I spent about 15 hours on the app a day. It was so sad back in that time where there was hardly any auctions. I had to set a timer for like 4.5 hours to make sure I got this auction and I was ready to get it when it happened. I have done the short term plays and will continue to do them at some instances, but because I'm working on so many other things right now, I just don't really want to put in the time to do that. So what I'm doing is focusing more on the things that I believe will have the biggest following of collectors and investors in the long run. That is things like the Disney Golden Moments, that is things like Marvel's Comic 1, that's other things that I believe will truly hold their value and their significance decades and decades to come. So that is my kind of focus on that investment when it comes to the long term. What I'm also trying to do is analyze more data as much as I can. I've always been an analytical person. I like to look at things more logically. So I have been focusing more on the downloads, the gems purchased, the Ecomi Wiki, sort of just understanding where the prices are going, the supply demand. Of course, after the KYC unlistings of people who haven't actually done KYC, there were a lot of things that dropped off in the market, but prices didn't actually move up, they moved down. And again, this is just due to demand. People are probably waiting for AF15 right now. We still have no confirmation if that's going to be the case, so we might not even get it. And if that is going going to happen and we don't manage to get it, then there will probably be an even further downtrend over the future because people are actually waiting for something to happen. Unless something else that is massive actually appears, I don't know if there's going to be any sort of big uptrend in the next few months, especially with the way the world is at too. There would have to be something quite significant to truly move the market forward and make it uptrend significantly. The thing I've been trying to do is transition from an investor to a collector, especially within Veve. Now there's other things that I'm still trying to make money on, and within Veve I still will try to do that. But because I've taken my money out that I put into the app, now everything that I use is just sort of play money. I can do what I want with it. I can trial and test things. What I'm going to be doing now is setting like a pot for collecting and setting a pot for investing, where I'll have a certain amount of gems that I can start trading, buying and selling and doing everything that I want with. And the other one is just to collect what I love, collect what I believe will be awesome in the long run, where I can have it in my Veve house and all that sort of stuff. Things that I can really show off that belong to me, that mean a lot to me. I mean, I purchased 3 Todd McFarlane Batman statues because I think they're absolutely awesome. I gifted a Harley Quinn for my birthday. There's so many things that actually mean quite a lot to me, and on the app I actually have that Harley Quinn with the exact same mint number that I have here. So things like that mean a lot to me, and I'm really enjoying the fact that I've now become a physical collector as well as a digital collector through Veve, and this is what I want to continue. I do want to still enjoy the process of collecting things, of being a collector in this space, but also I think it's fun to make some money, as that's how I was able to get everything I've got on my own profile. You know, I have put in less than £1,000 into Veve since the beginning. Not like I had an absolute crap ton of money to invest in like some of these other people. I had to stick within my means, and I actually managed to do that. Pretty proud to where I was able to get to with it. So I'm still going to try to get a little bit of that side involved, still going to try and buy and sell and trade here and there to try to understand the market a little bit more. But for me right now, I'm trying to sort of split that of an investor and collector, where I'm doing a little bit of both. Right now, Veve is in this interesting place because a lot of things have went incredibly successfully. We've had the marketing for the Marvel booth at Comic-Con. We've had KYC come out, and it's actually for every single user right now. You can now cash out. And I believe there's been rumors as well that we've partnered with a cryptocurrency company where you're going to be able to remove your crypto from Veve through that partnership. But the tweet was taken down, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they weren't meant to announce that as early as they did, so I'm not going to put the tweet or anything like that on the screen. I'm just going to say it's speculation right now. We don't actually know if it's confirmation, but I guess we'll see over the next few months. There were some issues with the crypto cash out where I think people were taking advantage of it, and I'm guessing that's why they've partnered with this crypto company, but I guess we're going to see. So a lot of actually positive things have happened over the last month or so with Veve. A lot of things have moved in really, really good directions, especially with the foundations that are being built. Now it's about creating that authority, understanding that security for customers, and the reasons and ways that they're actually going to push this business to the place that they want to go. I'd love to hear your thoughts and sentiment towards Veve. Do you think differently because you joined at a certain time? Are you really excited for what's going to be happening in the future? Or are you quite worried that now certain barriers are put in place that are stopping people from joining? I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.